Well, our Tuesday trio of MPs was trapped in the House of Commons yesterday, and their masters wouldn't let them leave. But we resurrected them. They're here today, and you know them, of course. Well, two of the three anyway. Megan Leslie, the deputy leader of the NDP, is here. Roger Cousineau, a Liberal MP of extraordinary skills on very fronts, and Carrie Lynn Finlay is sitting in for James Rajad, who's trapped in a committee somewhere, I guess.
Okay, I don't know.
James, okay, I want to quickly just bring in one thing off the top. I don't know if we can call it a scuffle, but there was a little verbal disagreement, perhaps a physical gesture or two that went on in the House of Commons, reacting to what happened earlier today. You can see Peter MacKay wandering over, trying to break up Peter Van Loan, who was reaming out the House Leader Nathan Cullen for trying a procedural motion which I think bothered the government side. They were trying to nullify a vote on the omnibus budget bill because they said that the finance minister wasn't in his seat at the time. Interestingly, he was spotted at a restaurant shortly thereafter that vote was taken, along with another Conservative MP, but that's his business, I guess. Let's bring in our MPs to talk about that. I got to go to Megan Leslie first, because she had a front row seat to this. What was that all about? Boys being boys?
You know, I get that phrase, but no, that's not acceptable. It's not boys being boys. First of all, my caucus is 40% women. There are a lot of women in that House. You know what? We're MPs. I think the Conservative House Leader did not act appropriately, came over pretty aggressively, guns ablazing, and heated words were said, and it's not cool, right? We're in there trying to do our job. The NDP did move a motion about whether or not that vote would count with the finance minister not in his seat. That's fair. It's fair to raise those questions. It's not fair to come across the House and attack.
Mind if I ask you what he was saying? Like, what was the issue he had?
I don't think it's fit for your audience, but there were a lot of expletives, and he was pretty ticked.
It was a profane exchange.
Yeah.
Roger, did you hear any of this or see it at all?
No, but I would have been in the cheap seats, the cheaper seats back. I didn't have the front row. I wasn't in the
I guess you were
luxury box
like
Megan. But and listen, sort of pox on all our houses. I just had a quick chat with Gordon O'Connor, and I have a lot of time for Gordon, the chief government whip, and he said, you know, that type of behavior is not acceptable. But I know that the leader of the NDP was very aggressive with his. You know, when this began to evolve, he was very aggressive with his language as well. So there's nobody in the right here. This is the House of Commons, and you know, there's no place for this. So hopefully, cooler heads will prevail, and we won't see a rehash.
Now, Carolyn, you're a very cool MP under pressure. What was your reaction to this? Do you think it was an over-dramatized confrontation?
Well, normally I would have a pretty good view of this, but I had actually left the House at the time. But what I can say is we had a lot of unnecessary votes last night, in our view, many hours spent, and there was a motion brought by the NDP saying something was out of order, which clearly the Speaker said they were wrong in the motion they brought forward, and sometimes tempers flare. There's no excuse for anyone on either side to not be respectful of one another. I've certainly had a few comments from Mr. Cullen thrown my way when I've spoken in the House, which I thought were inappropriate. So there's no, this is something where we all need to continue to be respectful in our dealings.
I think you all need a Christmas break sooner rather than later.
Yes.
All right, let's talk a little bit about what we were going to lead off the show with, and that is this Conservative MP's motion. He wants to condemn sex selection, which tends to lead to abortions, at least in some countries. I don't know how prevalent it is here. Carrie Lynn, is this a stealth way of getting to an abortion bill, or is it something you think is a legitimate condemnation?
Well, we have to remember that private members' business is just that. Any member of Parliament has the right, who is not in the government cabinet, to bring a private member's bill. So these are privileges that MPs exercise regularly, and they aren't always the most comfortable subjects, or they're not always sanctioned. And in this particular situation, it is our government's position, as articulated by the Prime Minister and the Minister of Justice, that we have no intention of reopening this debate.
No, but you're ducking the question. Is there a difference between abortion and this sex selection, which the Conservative MP argues is actually discriminatory against women, and frankly, you may have a point. I mean, it's much more difficult. It's not as black and white as abortion, yes or no.
I understand his argument, but when you are talking about sex selection, you are talking about abortion.
Right.
You're talking about the reasons why some people may choose that.
Maybe.
And it's not a debate that we intend as a government to open.
There's no wiggle room in your leader's position. What's your position?
Well, the NDP is a pro-choice party, and you don't get to be halfway pro-choice. We will vote against this motion. The context, it is an interesting issue before us. The context is this bill came out practically moments after the last abortion bill. So we know what it's getting at, right? It is about reopening the abortion debate. Sex selection is a really troubling thing. It's something we need to take seriously, and we need to consider and perhaps have some rules in place. But you know who can do that? The College of Surgeons can do that. Medical ethicists can deal with that question and put those pieces in place. It's not what we need to deal with in the House.
Is that where it belongs, in the doctor's offices?
It's a debate that sort of hasn't gone. I believe it's been fairly active within the Conservative caucus. I think Canadians have dealt with this quite some time ago, but it continues to come up, and it's not coming up from any other party than the Conservatives. And I don't know all the provincial ramifications around this, but I understand that most provinces, they don't announce the sex of a baby until after the second trimester, and which time after that abortions don't take place. So again, we'll look at the issue as it comes forward. But
it's going to divide the House. I mean, certainly the Conservatives on the abortion issue, the motion that was a couple months ago, they voted fairly heavily in favor of that motion going forward. So anyway, let's move along. There are other issues to be talked about here. I have to quickly bring up Justin Trudeau. They now sort of set a time, approximately in February, when they're going to haul him before committee to talk about his comments on Alberta. And I'm just curious what you think. I mean, it seems to me that I'm not sure these committees were set up for that, but why do you think Justin Trudeau should be put before the Natural Resources Committee and asked about his Alberta comments? Carolyn?
Well, I do know this, that in Alberta and its energy sector fuels, and I'm using that word both for a reason, but fuels the economy throughout Canada. We all benefit from the energy sector coming out of Alberta. It is not comfortable for us to hear any MP talking about divisions in the regions, and Alberta is still stinging from a disastrous national energy policy that Prime Minister Trudeau brought in many years ago. So, those aren't comments on Alberta we welcome.
I spoke at a great university the other day, St. FX University the other day, a couple of poli-sci students, and they said they're going to play, they'll watch with entertainment when Justin appears, and they'll take a drink every time they knock the dinosaur dust off the National Energy Program. I mean, oh my God Almighty. Let's talk about abortion. Let's talk about national, because there's no other issues in this world. Let's get back to the 70s and get bell bottoms going again.
Very quickly to you, Megan.
I got nothing. I mean, I can't even keep track of what Justin Trudeau's saying or doing.
Well, listen, the committee, I mean, this is in the right venue.
Especially when committees are always in camera under the Conservatives, and now...
Let's drag Harper back and ask him about the Atlantic culture defeat, or the firewall around Alberta, or, bring Blakowski or Anders or any of the famous five over there.
All right, we're out of time. Thank you very much, Megan.
That's it.
Sure. Yeah, we're done.